Hi, I hope you're having a good day. Elan here. Welcome back to the Holistic Health Podcast. Today I'm joined by Finn, and the purpose of today's podcast is to discuss goal setting, and we're going to go through lots of different practical things and ways to figure out what your goals are. So by the end of this podcast, you're going to have a really good idea of exactly what your goals are for this year. And it doesn't really matter what time of year you do this at. It is January now when we're recording it, so it's obviously great to get the new year off to a good start. But you can literally do this at any point during the year. So don't feel like, oh, I didn't do it on January 1st, so now I can't do it. Just focus on like, okay, let's get some goals for today, and then you can work on them going forward. Before we get into it though, Finn, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Looking forward to today as well, like, because I think it's one of them things that's so important is going through your goals and just having a framework that you can follow that makes it easy to do so, because it's one of them ones that's thrown about so much. Is like you need to do goal setting, especially this time of year. But if you've never done it before, it can be really kind of overwhelming because like how do we even do it? So again, having a framework that's tried and tested from both yourself and myself, like it just makes it so much easier to follow. And it's just that sort of rinse and repeat, like we were talking earlier. Like it doesn't have to be once a year sort of thing. It's like I love to do like what's my yearly goals and then break that down into the quarterly goals and then even bring that into like monthly and weekly kind of subcategories. So it's like it allows you to break down them big things that you're working towards into smaller, easier, more manageable chunks. So it's a good process.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really I find it works well to kind of reverse engineer goals. So let's say you have this really big kind of like scary goal for the year, whatever that is for you. But then like you said, you can just break it down and like, okay, that's the year goal, but what do I need to do on a quarterly basis? What do I need to do on a weekly basis? What's the daily habit that will eventually bring me to that? So it'd be good to get into those. And yeah, I think it's like same as anything, getting started is always the hardest thing. So, like you said, if you've never set goals before, it can actually be really scary. But once you kind of just come up with something that's realistic for you, something that's authentic, then it's going to be much easier to work towards that. And I have like a bunch of different questions that I'm going to mention, and we're going to share some personal examples. So then that'll give you some ideas of like potentially what you could focus on or give you ideas for what your goals will be. And then we can break it down into like maybe what the daily action or habit would be. So it'll be very kind of practical, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like that's it. Like it's just like that's where it's like having like of a framework like this to kind of work off just makes it so much easier because it can be a big daunting task, but it's known as like, right, here's 4 or 5 areas of your life that we want to focus on, that we want to get a goal in each of these different areas. And then from there is like, right, let's look at how does like what's the questions that you can ask yourself to start getting clear of what that is going to be in each of them areas.
Yeah.
And again, it just makes it so much easier to break it down and then start working towards it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll get into the questions, and the categories or areas that I'm going to go through will be for boundaries, self-care, food, steps, strength and fitness, and your sleep. So if you have a little goal in each of these areas, that's a very holistic approach, and it's gonna have a massively positive impact on every area of your life. So I think these are kind of like the key areas to focus on.
Yeah.
So boundaries are, I think, a really important thing. So the question is, where in my personal or professional life can I start saying no more often? And I know for me, this has been like a very gradual process of figuring out because I'll be very honest, like boundaries are something that I've struggled with a lot over the years. So
Yeah.
saying no more often has been like really challenging. But
Yeah.
if you're always saying yes to other people, it means you're saying no to yourself. And then that obviously takes away from your self-care and your mental health, your physical health, every other, so many different things. So Finn, for you, where would be maybe like one area that you want to start saying no more often, or maybe you have done in the past?
Yeah, again, like yourself, like this was one of the areas that like took a lot of work for myself to start putting in them healthy boundaries for myself, coming from that. reformed people pleaser tendency, and like I know a lot of our clients can fall into that category as well. Is like especially working with like a lot of like ladies like and like who are mothers have like or have younger older kids and stuff like that. So often they put themselves down the pecking order, and it's such a big one. And I know for me, like my boundaries comes into play around at the moment what I'm focusing on is like boundaries around time, like time management and what's the time vampires around me at the moment that's like sucking away all of my time and taking it away from the things that I actually want to do, which is like looking after myself, being present with my kids, training, that sort of stuff. So for me, that's a big one is looking at the boundaries that I'm setting around my time, because I can see that's the one just after moving to Australia again and setting ourselves up here and with work with little kids with all of that stuff, trying to have not trying to have enough time, trying to dedicate the right time to do the things that I want to do to show up as my best self.
Amazing. Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize that you've got many kids. So time for you is super, short. So I'm sure like you can relate to a lot of, parents out there as well. I only have Luna, so I'm a cat dad, but I'm not officially an actual dad just yet. But yeah, I'd say like an area for me saying no more often has been like definitely with just having firmer boundaries between work, so between personal stuff and professional stuff. So in the past, basically, I used to just be of the mindset of like, okay, I just need to work as much as possible. And if I didn't work, like loads, 12 or 14 hours a day, I had this really bad um kind of self-defeating thought of like it tied into my self-worth, right? So I always felt like guilty for not working loads. So I worked
Yeah.
on that a lot. And now I'm like, okay, my boundaries are basically from like 7:45 p.m. every single day. I'm switched off. So I don't respond to any emails, don't respond to any messages, anything like that. So my evenings, Monday to Friday, I have that from 7:45 onwards. And then what I'm doing for this year now is, and going forward is every Tuesday, I've completely blocked off my calendar. So that's going to be for either a personal or business growth day. So like yesterday, I was literally on the computer for like 8 hours looking through Excel sheets, doing all my stats. So it was more of a business growth day yesterday, but I'm basically going to have
Mm.
Tuesday as that kind of growth day going forward. And that's a really important boundary for me because it means that we're going to be able to help more people. And I'm also going to have more headspace to focus on like, okay, what are the next steps in terms of growing the business? How do we serve people better? How do we get better results? All those kind of things.
Mm.
So that's been difficult to do, but I'm really happy
Yeah.
to have those kind of, boundaries in place. So that's a big win for me,
Yeah, I love
definitely.
that. Yeah, like and like it's such a big one, like it really is, and like it's one of the things again, countless conversations with clients around like the lack of boundaries with themselves and work and family and stuff. And again, it's just put themselves last in the pecking order, and it's like we can just keep doing it until we can't anymore. Like it just hit that point of burnout, and like I know myself personally, I've hit that point of burnout too many times from just thinking I can do everything and without looking after myself. So again, it's so important to be able to look at what them things are that are taken away from you. Like as you said, it's like whatever you're when you're saying yes to everything else, you're saying no to yourself. So what's one thing that you can do, one commitment, one promise that you can make for yourself moving forward that's got to be a healthy boundary. And that could be simple thing as literally like having a social media boundary so you're not wasting time scrolling. Like it just that could be the first step of one of the things that you want to do. So then that's just going to free up some time and space to do something else that's going to be more enjoyable for yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. I got a shock a few years ago. So everyone has this in their phone. So go to the settings and look at your screen time, and you'll be able to see exactly what apps you use and for how many hours per week. And I got a shock before that I was literally like using um, YouTube for like 5 hours a day, or because YouTube is kind of like my favorite platform, but it's very easy to lose loads of time every week, right? So if you're someone that thinks like, oh, I just don't have any time for myself or for whatever else, That may be true, or have a quick look at how much time you spend on social media. And if you have, like, let's say, even 2 hours a day on Instagram, TikTok, whatever, if you were to literally reclaim an hour of that, you've got an extra hour. Maybe that's like 30 minutes more in the morning. Maybe it's an hour more in the evening. And then obviously you can use that time for whatever you want, go for a walk, do a workout, spend it with your partner, whatever it is. But it's like now you have that boundary with social media and you've got time back for yourself, which is like, sounds simple, but a lot of people don't even
Yeah,
realize how much time is going
yeah,
on TikTok every day, you know?
yeah. No, that's really big. Awesome.
Um,
So then the next one moving into is the self-care side of it. So
yep.
like yeah, it's such a big one, and it rolls really nice from the boundaries. Because I know we were talking like we're putting in healthy boundaries for ourselves, so we actually have more time and space to invest into our own self-care.
Mhm. Yeah. So it's what are 1 to 2 specific types of self-care that you'd like to add or focus on? So now that you've reclaimed time from setting your boundaries, you want to figure out what's going to be important. So what's like something that you're going to be focusing on over the next maybe month or two?
For me, the self-care one is my mornings, getting the mornings back. Like just we literally just moved into our house, was it 2 days ago after kind of moving around and being in caravan for a few weeks and stuff like that. So now that we're just getting everyone into a bit more of a rhythm again, like I want to reclaim my mornings for myself, which means getting up at like 5:30 to do some breath work, do some journaling, just do a bit of stretching and moving and stuff like that, and just kind of get my head in the game before the house wakes up.
Nice. Yeah, for me, like my favorite types of self-care really are definitely trying to go to the sauna as often as possible. Like we literally just had a community day there on Saturday. So we went out to the lake, booked out the sauna for like an hour, and then was just in and out, 3 or 4 times between the lake and the sauna. And I always feel like so much better after that. Like sleep better, mental health is better,
Mm.
mood, just everything, So I definitely would like to do that maybe a bit more often. Like maybe like once a month or something like that. Because it's not really that expensive for how great it is. It's usually like 15 euro for the hour per person.
Yeah,
It's well worth
yeah,
it. So
yeah,
I think that's something I'm gonna maybe have in a little bit more often for sure.
yeah. Like I think one of the things good to like bring into this conversation now as well around the goals is trying to get as specific as possible with it. Like even like as both of us were sharing there with our self-care goals, it's like they're kind of a little bit loose, but they're not super locked in. So it's like from myself, it's like like the Monday to Friday definitely is my morning times for myself, whereas the weekends I allow a little bit more flex. So it's like right, I'm aiming for like 5 mornings a week where I'm having getting up early and having my time for yourself. It could be as like having a sauna at least once a month is your goal that you're aiming for towards it. Rather than like, oh, I want to go to it more. It's kind of it can be a little bit loose with it, and like again, it's just the way we can sabotage ourselves by not being clear on that as well.
Exactly. Yeah, no, good point. All right, so I'm putting it firmly in the ground right now, okay? So every month I'm gonna I'm gonna book a sauna and we'll have that and then I'll have that as something that I can look forward to every month. So that's like a monthly thing. And then in terms of like daily self-care, my girlfriend actually got me this really nice blueberry scented spray. It's like aromatherapy. So I like using that at nighttime. Makes me feel very calm. So that's a very simple thing I can do every evening. For me, actually getting a haircut like once, it's usually once every 1 to 2 weeks. So it's pretty often, but it's something that I really enjoy, makes me feel good. So that's kind of like a consistent self-care thing I do, have been doing for God knows how long, probably like 10 years.
Yeah,
Um, but for someone else, it might be like maybe like doing a face mask, once a week. So maybe that you do that on Friday evenings after work. Maybe maybe you have a bath, every Saturday and you let your husband and kids know to the best of your ability, like, okay, this is my time for a bath and please don't interrupt.
yeah,
Um, and kind of having like a weekly habit like that of something that you can look forward to. But yeah, I think it's just important to pick self-care that you enjoy. Um,
yeah.
it's important to
And
mention
it's been
that.
Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was going to say like self-care is also working out is self-care. Any type of training like running, going to the gym, training from home, yoga, any movement like that, that's all self-care. Um, so you need to like include that in the bracket as well. So if you are training twice a week, let's say doing a strength workout for 30 minutes, that's also self-care. So just to keep in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to touch on that as well. It's like one of the things with this is being realistic with the goals that you're setting for yourself as well, like in the expectations that fit in around your busy lifestyle. Like there's one of the things that we tend to do a lot. I know it's one of the things I used to do massively was I was like, all right, it's like new month, I'm going to be doing this here, or like it's like I'm going to be like training 5 days a week, I'm going to be doing this, and this, and set all these unrealistic expectations that's not going to match in with it all. And like I might hit 60, 70% of what I wanted, but because I didn't hit 100%, I feel deflated. Whereas actually I hit 60, 70% of what I wanted, which was nearly double of what I might have been doing previously. So I'm actually doing massive wins, but because I'm not meeting them unrealistic expectations and it has raised the bar too high for myself, it can be deflating. So it's like looking at that, it's like if you're doing it's like right, I want to focus this month and getting 2 workouts a week every single week, and maybe next month it could be it's like right, let's get that up to 3 workouts a week, and that's where I'm going to feel really confident rather than going straight into doing no workouts to 3 workouts a week, which then you hit the first week you don't manage it, and then you feel crap for yourself, and then it's like oh, what's the point? You give up.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a really good point. So realistic targets would be between 1 to 3 30-minute workouts a week, right? So if you have a busier week and you do at least one full body workout, you're going to at least maintain your strength that week, right? So that's a win. Then if you have another week where you maybe have more time and you've scheduled things, maybe you get 3 workouts in that week for 30 minutes. So you're making progress in that week. So you got a maintenance week, you got a progress week. What you said there reminds me of the self-sabotage podcast that we did because it's so easy to fall into that perfectionist mindset, you know? So just be aware of that as well. It's like if you do plan to do 3 workouts, but you only get one workout done, one workout is still better than zero. So don't self-sabotage and be like, oh, I only did one workout this week. I'm doing crap. I'm just going to give up. Because you're probably going to have that thought in some way, shape, or form will run through your mind. But if that thought does pop up, you can be like, okay, like I don't need to be perfect. I still did something. I'm still moving forward. That's a positive thing because it's over. You want to look at it over the year. You like even if you did one workout a week over the year, there's still 52 workouts. So
Yeah.
yeah, the self-sabotage is ever present in the deep recesses of our mind, unfortunately.
Oh yeah. Awesome.
All right, so next one then, moving on to food. Question to ask yourself would be, where is one area I'd need to focus on? I need to focus on more this month. So, for example, are you experiencing maybe cravings in the evening, sugar cravings, chocolate cravings, something like that? Do you need to have more variety with food? Are you feeling like really hungry at some point in the day, like 11 a.m. or 3 p.m.? Um, are you not feeling satisfied or full from the food that you're eating? So this is something to really like tap into. And even today, just tune into like how you're feeling. See, how you feel a couple of hours after you've eaten. Like, do you feel full? Do you feel satisfied? Or can you feel cravings for chocolate? So this is super important because if you have any physique related goal, you want to get leaner, you want to tone up, you want to have more energy, anything like that, this is a really important area to look at because it'll help with that.
Yeah.
So, Finn, what's happening for you recently? What's one area you need to focus on a bit more with food?
My big focus is up in the protein intake. Again, it's like spending a month living in a tent, and cooking. It's been good, but it hasn't been optimal because just didn't have everything available to us and stuff like that. So definitely there was a little bit more convenience and kind of like just easier foods and stuff to kind of go through. But like yeah, a big focus now that we're in the house now is like it's just getting into like eating more high protein. Because I know it's like when I'm eating my protein on point with that, like my energy, all that stuff goes through the roof.
Mm.
So
Nice.
I've got like my jerky sticks in front of me here. I had a little snack before we got on the call.
Nice. Yeah, I think the biggest one for me is just making sure I have like a high protein meal in the morning because hangriness for me is honestly like I've got a lot better with it. Like before, it used to rule my whole life. If I felt hungry, like you didn't want to be anywhere close to me, but it's a lot
Yeah.
better. But so the daily habit basically for me is like if I can have a high protein breakfast, whether that's like bagels and eggs or bagels with bacon and eggs, or let's say avocado, and I like bagels a lot, so bagels are kind of like a a regular thing for me. But it doesn't really matter, if it was eggs, bacon, um, avocado, smoked salmon, something like that. If I have that meal in the morning time, sometime around kind of like 10 or 11, that's what kind of works well for me. That really sets me up well for the rest of the day. So that's like a consistent thing that I have to stay on top of. Because if I don't eat, if I get up at 7 and I don't eat till 3, I'll feel really bad in terms of cravings and mood and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a really big one.
Yeah. Such a big one.
Um, I think we've gone through it in other podcasts in terms of like targets, but in general, if for women, ideally you want to aim for like 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal. And you can do that in a lot of different ways, but that's kind of the target. So if you do have that, that will actually get rid of most most of the time it'll get rid of hunger, get rid of cravings. You won't have as many cravings in the evening, like for chocolate or for sugary things. So it's just
Yeah.
trying to figure out what you need to have 30 grams of protein. If you do eat meat, that's as simple as having like, let's say, one chicken breast, some potatoes, and some vegetables for dinner. If it's breakfast, it could be as simple as like, maybe it's 3 eggs and a couple of slices of toast, something like that. If you're a
Yeah.
vegetarian or a vegan, um it could be for dinner, like let's say having around 200 grams of tofu, and then you have that with whatever you like to add it into. So there's lots of ways of doing it. It's just figuring out what works for you basically.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to the next one in terms of overall movement with steps, pretty straightforward one. So I suppose you want to figure out like what's going to be a realistic amount of steps per day that you can fit into your schedule. So on average, it takes about 10 minutes to do 1,000 steps. So it's a case of figuring out how much time do you have per day for steps. So Finn, roughly, what would you say you're kind of averaging recently?
Oh, it's been like this, like today's a lot lower. Yeah, like probably the last week I've been average about 15,000. So yeah, 15, 16,000 steps. There's been a lot of walking.
Per day?
Yeah.
Oh wow,
Like
that's
it
a
was
lot.
like 22,000 in this last couple of days.
Nice. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's probably not realistic, right? For to continue with
No,
that.
not realistic. But like no, like on average I hit probably anywhere between 10 to 13, 12, 13,000 a day.
Okay.
But again, like that's something that like I've just trained myself into the habit of doing is like I'm always just looking for just opportunities just to get up and go for a walk and to do stuff or out and about. Like
Hmm.
it's one of them things is like just I guess I always said to clients is like if you're doing like 3,000 steps a day, don't aim for 10,000 steps a day because it's just too much of a jump straight away. It's like if you're doing 3,000 steps a day on average, it's like let's aim to get that up to like 6,000 steps. And what does that look like for you? What do you need to do? How does your day plan out a little bit different if you're just doing working on that side of it, and then just allow that to become your new norm, and then slowly start working the way up towards it as well. Like for myself, like it's like hit 20 something thousand steps yesterday. It was like that was just like I had a busy day. Like it was like we were moving, like we were doing lots of stuff. I was helping a mate do some other work as well. So like there was just I was just on my feet all day. But then like it's just looking for opportunities to kind of to keep moving as well and run around after the kids and all of that sort of stuff. So it's just looking how you've slots in for you.
Nice. Yeah, I'm much lower than that on average. So usually each day I'd aim for around like 6 to 8,000, something like that, because that's what works well for me because I'm recently like training jujitsu, ideally 1 to 2 days per week for around like an hour. I'm also, training, doing strength training 1 to 2 times a week in the gym as well for around an hour to an hour and a half. Sometimes I'll get in a boxing session as well in place of one of the jiu-jitsu sessions. So I'm training on
Yeah,
average about kind of like 3 pretty hard sessions a week. So that zaps up a lot of my energy. So it's actually realistic for me that if I do 6,000 steps in a day. Like I could do 0 steps all day. Like I could literally be here on the computer working from like 7 a.m. until maybe like 7:45 p.m. But then if I have had like hardly any steps at all, I'll just go out for a walk, let's say from 8 to 9 p.m. or 8 to 8:45 to
yeah,
get those steps in. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, like so I think it's a good example of us sharing because you're definitely on the higher side and I'm on the lower side, but both are fine because we have different lives and we train differently, different approaches. So there's no right or wrong. It's about figuring out what works for you. And like you said, like if someone does 3,000 steps on average, if you bring that up to 6,000, that's 100% more that you're doing than before. So that's amazing.
yeah,
Like if you went from 3,000 up to 9,000, that would be 200%
yeah,
more. So
yeah.
very
And
big.
that's one of the things like that we were talking about earlier. Like it's again, it's happened so many times with clients where they say it's like, oh, I need to be doing 10,000 steps, but like that day we're doing like 3,000 steps before, and they're like, oh, I only got 6,000 steps in today because they're comparing that 6,000 steps to the 10,000 that they want to work up towards. But I'm just like, you only done 3,000 like previously before this, like you're doubling what you were normally doing. And it's like rather than looking at the lack of what you have, look at how you've like actually doubled what you're doing as well. So again, it's like that's where perspective comes in and expectations comes in for ourselves as well.
Yeah, for sure. Just making that perspective shift, I think, helps a lot with the self-sabotage.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really good. Okay, so this is going to be a really good one of my favorite ones to talk about in terms of strength and fitness. So, what is one area or maybe specific exercise that you want to focus on more? Um, so what would that be for you?
Just get back into more consistent lifting again. Like it has slacked off a little bit over the last month and a half. So again, with that is getting at least 3 lifting sessions in a week for myself is the big focus and one run.
Nice. Yeah. And like at a super basic level, it's like you said, it could just be like, okay, I want to build consistency. So then for you, if you want to get those 3 workouts a week, what days or times specifically usually work well for you? Or what way would you set up your week?
So with that, like the one that I've been really enjoying lately is like doing park run on Saturday morning. And I got like my eldest daughter, she's starting to do it now this weekend with me as well, which I cannot wait for. So that's one that I'm really enjoying to get my 5K run in. And then aside from that, like with my work schedule and family schedule and stuff like that at the moment, because the kids are still on the holidays between work, it's been hard. That's been one of the things I've been finding harder to get a consistent in with training. Whereas when they go back to school, it's going to be so much easier because they'll be able to get it in during the daytime while they're at school. So I'll be looking at the days when they're at school to be able to get them sessions in a lot more consistent. But I'm not waiting on school to come to be able to get that happen. I'm focused on getting that in this week and next week because there's still another 2 weeks left of the holidays.
So Saturday is kind of like an anchor day for you that you can always get something done.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's kind
What
of
about you?
for me as well. Like either every Saturday or Sunday, depends on how recovered I'm feeling. Those are always my favorite days to go and train. So I'll usually like go to the gym and do a longer session than normal. Usually I'll train for about like an hour and a half, something like that. That's not something I recommend for the majority of people, by the way. Most people, especially when you're busy, you're better off to do 30-minute sessions, but I just have a lot of time on the weekends, so I can do like an hour and a half session and I'm not in a rush to go anywhere. So I love doing those. And then specifically Monday to Friday, because I work around other people's schedules, I basically have like 2 to 4 um, or 2:30 to 4:30 blocked off every Monday to Friday. So that's kind of like my lunchtime. So that's my favorite time to go and train. So if I'm going to be training jiu-jitsu or something, I'll usually try and do that, let's say from 2:30 to 3:30. Or if it's another day where I'm going to the gym, it'll be, yeah, let's say from 3 to 4 or something like that.
Yeah,
Have that blocked off in my calendar so nobody can like interfere with that. So it's always there. So
boundaries.
yeah, exactly. That's probably a really simple thing a lot of people can do. So if you use Google Calendar or if you have a calendar you use for work, um, it might people obviously depending on their work situation, some people might be able to block off time or not. But in general, if you can just like pick a specific time for certain days, it'll make it much easier. So a lot of women that we work with, they know for sure that like okay, I can have 7:30 in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I have that every week, regardless of what's going on, because it's before work. So that works for a lot of people. Or some people do maybe 8 to 8:30, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But just
Mhm.
figure out like what's that specific time for you. And then
Yeah,
once you have it in your calendar, it's more likely to get done. Because if it's not written down, it's likely not going to happen. So um okay, perfect. So yeah, I think that's like a simple basic way to look at the training. If you were to get like more granular with it, when you're back into, let's say, doing 3 workouts a week, or if you're doing a run every Saturday, like what would be a specific area that you'd like to focus on? Would it be like more upper body, lower body? Is it like a certain time that you're aiming for with the runs, or like what's kind of important for you at the moment?
um, one of the things that I know, like once I'm getting back in more consistent, like I want to get into more functional training and working more on like mobility. Like, because with the training that I was doing for the year and a half I was back in Ireland, it was a lot more like heavy weights, like big compound movements and stuff like that. And I do notice like that lifting heavy for a longer period of time, like it does stiffen you up. And I wasn't doing as much of the other mobility stuff as well. So I want to get back into more of the functional stuff, like and more of the like mobility and movement to loosen my body up a little bit more.
Mhm. Yeah, for me at the moment, I'm trying to like maintain my strength because so jiu-jitsu is like very technical and there's a lot of like thinking involved. It's like human chess. So what I'm trying to do is like have that as the main priority because I want to progress as much as possible with that. Um, so I know that if I can do at least one full body workout per week, that'll maintain my strength that I've built up over the last like 12 years. And then if I have the rest of my time to focus on the jiu-jitsu, then I'll be able to grasp all the different technicalities and movements and stuff that comes along.
Yeah,
So that's kind of like my specific focus. So yeah, but I think just the more granular you can get with these things, it makes it easier to have, the
yeah.
whatever. Okay, nice. Next one, last but definitely not least. Sleep is literally the most important thing you can focus on. We probably should have done this first, but the more you can optimize your sleep, the better literally everything across the board is going to be. So, question to ask yourself would be, are you waking up feeling energetic in the morning? And I want you to give yourself a rating out of 10. So 10 out of 10 would be like jumping out of bed, feel amazing. 1 out of 10 would be like pulling the covers back over, snoozing, hitting the snooze button 5, 6 times. Where would you say you're on that scale currently?
Oh, it's at the moment, I'd say it's probably about 5 or 6. It's low at the moment. It's like, and the reason it's not like I'm not getting bad sleep, it's like I cannot get enough sleep since being back over here in Australia. Like it's such a weird thing. Like if Shona was like we were talking about it a couple of days ago, like the two of us just have been craving so much sleep. But I think it's just after such a busy period over the last 3 or 4 months with like packing life up in Ireland again and transitioning, moving back and finding our feet and settling in here as well. Like it's just there was just so much stuff happening. Like our bodies are literally just in our nervous systems have just been boom flatlined a little bit. So it's just allowing that to kind of like just being gentle on that and just yeah, like I'm getting like 8, 9 hours sleep a lot of nights, which is unheard of for me. Whereas I normally kind of work off 6, 7 hours of sleep is good for me. So like that's one of the things that like it's starting to switch now. I'm starting to like wake up a bit earlier again. I can feel the energy coming back, but it's that transition is it is happening.
Yeah, nice. And you've literally had to adapt to completely different time zones, so your circadian rhythm and natural sleep cycle.
Like my body works so much better with the sleep cycle over here. It's like I'm normally like it wouldn't be difficult for me getting up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning over here. Like it's like that's what I'm working back towards. Like at the minute, like I've got it to 6 o'clock in the morning, like 6:30 in the morning. Whereas I'm slowly working that back to like 5:30. Like if I can get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, like that's my optimal because that means I have the time in the morning to do the things that I want to do for myself before the rest of the house wakes up. And so it's just kind of working towards that. But that just suits the lifestyle over here, suits the like the climate and everything over here.
Nice. Would you say that's mostly down to like sunshine or what kind of factor?
I think one of the big things is it's like just culturally, people want to be able to capitalize as much as possible in the afternoons and evenings because it is better weather and stuff like that. So it's like, and it does get dark pretty quick. Like it gets dark about 7 o'clock in the evenings all year round. So like come 9 o'clock, it's everyone's kind of like on that wind down. Like not a lot of people would stay up past 10 o'clock over here, whereas in Ireland, that's when you call over to people's house for a cup of tea. Um, so like it's like getting to bed like by like 9:30, 10 o'clock is very normal here. So that just makes it so much easier to wake up earlier. And then like especially during the summertime and stuff like that, like when we were living up in Perth, like you'd go to the coast at 7 o'clock any week morning and it would be absolutely rammed from people out exercising, people walking and running and stuff because you can't do it in the afternoon because it's like 35, 40 degrees. So like everyone wants to just get it done early in the morning.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I haven't been to Australia and you know, obviously in Ireland it's not really a cultural thing to be like up and out early. Like I've been out many times like for a walk or a cycle or something, you know, even at like 7 a.m. and there's like it's like a ghost town. And
Yeah,
it's the same in Sicily, in Barcelona. I could go for a walk in the morning, and the whole city would literally be empty at like 6 in the morning. Uh,
yeah,
so yeah, that's really interesting. And I would say like as well, if you're falling asleep at 10, you've got the benefit of going to bed earlier, so you're more in line with your circadian rhythm, which means you get more deep sleep. And it also means that even if you did sleep for 8 hours from 10, you're still waking up at 6.
yeah,
So big difference. If you go to sleep at 12 and you sleep for the same amount of hours, you're waking up at 8, but then you don't
yeah,
get much deep sleep because it's not as early, in line with your rhythm. So um that's probably something that a lot of people don't realize is that if you get 8 hours sleep um from 12 onwards, you're going to get a lot less deep sleep, so you'll have less energy. But if you get the same amount of hours sleep, but you go to bed earlier, like 10 or even 11, you're going to get more deep sleep. So the quality is actually way better the earlier you go to bed. So just something to keep.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
nice. Okay, so your energy is around 5 or 6. So hopefully that'll come up to at least a 7 or 8 soon.
yeah, yeah. Like, and that's just at the moment because I'm getting myself out of bed sooner than what I want to. Like, whereas like yeah, trying to get up, but like getting the alarm set for 5:36 is like force myself. Whereas naturally, I'm like waking up at about 6:37, but because I'm trying to bring that back, and like it's just having that bit of a play at the moment.
Nice.
It's yeah, the body's slowly adapting. What about
Mhm.
you?
Stuff. Yeah, to be honest, this is something that I need to work on. So I've been in a bad habit recently of like not going to sleep till maybe like 11:30 or 12. And I know 100 million% like if I go asleep at 10:30, um, I'll wake up with way more energy. So on average recently, I'd say my energy has probably been it's still pretty good. Like it's still like 8 or 9 out of 10 in the morning. But I just know, especially if I'm going to be doing a workout or some kind of training in the day, if I go to bed at 10:30 and get 8 or 9 hours sleep, I'll have like 11 out of 10 energy. Like there's
Yeah, yeah,
a big difference. If I get less then let's say 6.5 hours sleep, like my energy could this should be maybe like a 5 out of 10. So yeah, it's like something that is super important for me because I also noticed that my my immune system is very sensitive. If I get like less than 6 hours sleep for more than 3 days in a row, I'll be I'll have like a cold come on really quickly. That's happened
Yeah,
times before. So your sleep and recovery is directly tied to your immune system. So if you get sick really regularly and you're not sleeping well,
yeah,
probably going to be your answer.
yeah,
So yeah, the goal for me then specifically is going to be like ideally um trying to go to sleep for like 10:30, 10:45. That would be perfect because then I can easily get whatever 8 or 9 hours sleep depending on what time I'm up in the morning.
yeah. Perfect. Awesome.
Nice. All right, good stuff. So hopefully for anyone listening, that gives you lots of ideas of where you can go with this. So just to recap, we covered boundaries, self-care, food, steps, strength and fitness, and your sleep. So seven super important areas. And obviously you can look at it from the scope of personal and professional. So with the boundaries, obviously look at your personal life, but also look at like, maybe time that you're switching off from work in the evenings. Because I know a lot of women that we've worked with, I'll ask them like, what time are you switching off from work? And like, oh, I just bring the laptop to bed and I'll just have a quick look at the emails, before I fall asleep at 11. I'm like, please don't ever do that again.
Yeah,
Don't do it to yourself. Like if if you can switch off at whatever time you finish work, just leave it till the next day. Like the
yeah,
world is still going to keep turning and nothing crazy is going to happen in a few hours. And if it does, so be it. Like that's the importance of having
yeah.
is like if something happens, like you can just wait till the next day. Like so yeah, something to think about for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, so like again, I think it's like just to recap it, like it's just spend that bit of time for yourself to look at them seven areas. Just like what's one thing that you want to focus on in each of them areas that you want to work in. And like again, it's like what does the end goal of that look like, but what does a daily or weekly action look like that's going to help you move towards that? Like just to super make it super simple for yourself. Like we don't have to complicate things. Um, and it's just allowing yourself to take them little steps to move forward, and that's where big change happens.
Exactly. And if you want a bit of extra support or accountability, write down all your daily actions or your maybe your year-long goals, your monthly goals. Write some of that down on paper and then take a photo of it and then send it to us. So you could just email it to us if you want. So mine's easy to remember, Elan@coachelan.com. Finn's is Finn@coachelan.com. And if you want a few pointers or whatever, just send it over and we can get back to. And yeah, I think that was a very productive session. It was great to chat about that. I've got a lot more clarity on what I need to kind of double down on a bit more. So more
Yeah,
monthly saunas, more discipline with going to bed earlier, 10:30. I think those are kind of like the two main takeaways for me. What about you?
yeah, yeah. Again, like with that, it's just getting the sleep on track and working on the time management is the big ones, and like that, then that's going to help filter it in into the all the other ones a lot more.
Nice. Good stuff. All right, nice. So yeah, if this was helpful, just drop a comment down below, leave us a thumbs up. If you have any questions, let us know. If there's any specific topics that you'd like us to cover in future, again, you can just shoot us a message or an email or drop a comment down below. And we want these podcasts and videos and stuff to be as helpful as possible. And yeah, your suggestions are welcomed. And yeah, hope you enjoy the rest of your day and chat soon.
Awesome. Thank you, man.